Oh, I didn't even see all the chat messages going on. Hello, everybody. We're gonna take a little small.
There's a lot.
We're gonna take a little break though. We're gonna wait a few minutes because Mr. Sippin' Corn himself was having some technical difficulties. So we'll just go ahead and delay and kind of talk about what else is good in our world.
You gonna do another intro?
Yeah. Be back, everybody. See you in a minute. I'm just kidding.
I was like, damn.
We really got another 10 minutes of Kenny humming to his EDM music. Jeez. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, we'll kind of.
Can we like make this a BCR off the record segment? I feel like there's plenty of good stuff that we could just clip into just one more weekly episode. We could
of just random bloopers and just
random thoughts
that happens.
Sports talk. Let's really expand it.
Can we talk fantasy football drafts? I need some advice for Wednesday.
Well, the better question is what's your buy-in for yours?
Mine's 1,500.
Oh, you're in that one?
Wow. 1,500?
So you're with Grant Hillier and all them and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
It's if I look at it's $100 a week, so all my other friends gamble
that's what all the addicts say.
The question is, have you ever won though?
I have twice, and I've gotten second twice. So,
dude, you're
probably
then.
Oh, yeah, you're bankrolling then. Yeah,
the first year we did it, I won and bought a new Explorer with the winnings. Well, not all of it, but part of it went towards it.
Yeah, there's some people that can just go and buy a new car after they win their fantasy football league.
It was awesome.
Good league.
It was a hard sell at first, but then when you win that first one, it.
How many people are in the league?
Okay with it.
You're hooked.
How many people are in your league?
There's 12 teams.
Oh, damn! All right.
Yeah.
So there's $4 million
in the pool.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, $4 million. That's what it comes down to.
It's fun.
Oh, man. Blake, you gonna be in October? You're gonna go to Kentucky in October? Meet up?
I want to.
You should.
I don't think I have much.
You coming in October?
Yeah.
Jordan?
Yeah, we're actually
those Twitter messages.
Yeah,
no, I'm not on Twitter.
We need to start figuring out a way to clue him in on some of these all our back end DMs and stuff like that. So Breaking will be in town.
All three of us, Ryan.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Eric's
we think
out.
We think so far. We'll see. It might just be a hologram.
We might get an
October.
imposter, but that Columbus Day weekend's like October. Like this, we'll be there the 6th through the 9th. Well, we're leaving the 9th in the morning.
Awesome.
Is that when it is? Okay.
Yeah.
And so Ryan, we have to look at our arsenal of barrels because they want to select a pursuit series as well.
Okay.
And I was like, I know we have a lot of rye that's ready to go. I don't know if you're interested in that or if we need to go and see if there's other things we got working with too.
They're breaking
we got
bourbon,
a few. We
not
could
breaking
probably.
rye. I don't know if you.
Well, we got some older BBC barrel, TDG barrels.
Yeah, we might be able to throw some things in there.
We could give you all the first. Crap, Blake might get mad, but we'll do a BCR thing.
Let's piss off Blake. That'll be good.
The first,
that's the goal of the weekend. If I don't get how mad it can
Pursuit Elements or whatever we're going to call our single barrel line.
Oh man,
Select. I don't know what it is. We still have to figure out what that's going to be.
Seal Box Private Reserve batch 3 will 99% sure it's going to be September 1st again. Just answering a comment in the chat. So be on the lookout for everybody's sample bottles coming your way.
Oh, this guy.
He's back.
I'm back.
And with the wrong microphone. Try again.
Again? I just said the name.
Just saying.
All right.
We're gonna make sure we get this right. You know what? I bought you all microphones. At some point, I'm just gonna have to buy you the actual computers to go with it. So just like it's like this is just your Bourbon Community Roundtable computer. Don't mess it up.
I actually just called Comcast and said, "Hey, I think my internet's supposed to be on somebody else's bill. I don't know if you just search like Bourbon Pursuit or how you link these things, but
yeah, we're gonna give you a $20 stipend every month for internet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on the array. It says that's what I'm on.
It's ATR 2100.
Okay, I don't.
It's okay.
All right.
We're gonna.
That's all right.
Everybody's
We're
waiting. I mean, we're just the numbers keep building up, and everybody's just making fun of you in the comments. So it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. That one
Not
is
me
not
this
available.
time.
How's it feel, Blake? Like you're the one that's not having issues yet.
You know, just here early, or making it work.
There you
When
go.
do y'all get in on the?
On the 6th.
Oh, okay, the 6th. Perfect.
Yep. I think
But
I'm gonna.
Kenny will be gone. Never mind.
But I think he's back by the 8th.
Yeah, that's what I'll be in Chicago. Coming back from Chicago on the 7th. I have cleared none of this with my wife, by the way. So I'm gonna do all that first.
She doesn't know you're going to Chicago.
Well, I mean, kind of.
So no, she does not.
Well, I mean, it's between that. it's
She will when
between-
she goes to edit this episode, but
I know. I see all this stuff you keep adding the calendar. I'm like, holy crap! You're giving me
Yeah.
anxiety.
Mhm. Just trying to make this all work. That's all it comes down to. Who needs sleep?
I don't.
I know. Let's see. What's this question? How about pursuit guests for single barrels? Keep with the podcast theme.
How
I don't-
about pursuit guests for single barrels, keeping with the podcast thing?
I don't know if I go ahead and try to re-ask
I think
that
that was
question,
maybe
make
what,
sure,
what you name it. I think that's what you name it. Maybe.
maybe I don't know. Brian, let's try again.
oh,
How
that'd
are
be
you?
a cool. Yeah, I get what he's saying. Like
Yeah.
your private barrels would be
Or
like
the guests.
instead of
coming out. Yeah.
episode whatever, it'd be like
Guest
our
number
next
1.
guest is
Yeah. I like that.
Blakey Bourbon, and
I
instead of
see
like
it.
selected by. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that.
Oh, I like
Mm,
that. Very
Mhm.
good.
Good idea.
Yeah, that
I
is a
like
good
that.
idea.
Don't
Yeah.
trademark that really quick, but
We're trying to trademark a lot of stuff. We're already paying a lot of money in that department.
Yeah.
Lawyers
Kenny
are
just,
expensive.
Kenny just keeps emailing trademark.
Lawyers. Wait, what?
yeah,
You still have the wrong
That
microphone,
mic's
by the way.
working now,
Brian.
Brian. Yeah, somebody said lawyers, and Brian, all of a sudden
Appeared
back
out
on
of
his
nowhere.
dad.
I'm on the Array Real
It's
or
not-
ATR.
Yeah, ATR 2100. That's what we need to be on. I'm gonna boot him and
Mm.
try to have him come back on. Well, we're 10 minutes in, and I'm sure
Always
Actually,
people-
does he, have
somebody.
does he have an iPhone? Because when Blake did that episode on his iPhone, it wasn't that bad.
Which one? I've done multiple.
From the Disney
Disney one,
lobby.
Disney A, Disney B.
It was when you were in DC last trying to go to
DC.
Walgreens to buy
that,
your
that was a good
computer
one.
equipment.
That was
Mhm.
a treasure hunt.
people don't know what you're flexing in the background there, Blake.
Blake?
Jason wants to
I
know.
don't even know.
It's that Willet polo. I mean, you know you made it when you can afford a Willet polo.
Oh, you got that W.
I've got. There's some decent barrels back there or bottles. I don't even know.
Maybe you should plug your
Nah.
maybe you should plug your seal box sale right now, Blake.
Nah. I wouldn't
Wow,
want to
I thought that was a pretty good deal. I thought that was a good deal.
I thought you meant the private reserve. I was going to say I
No,
already
the
did
case
that.
sale you have going
Oh
on.
yeah. No,
Oh, yeah.
so we are.
That is a good deal.
Yeah, I'll be up there Saturday to do full inventory, switch over to back end software. So we took just some older barrel picks, some stuff we've been sitting on for a while, and did. So if you buy 6 bottles, you get the lowest 3 bottles for free. It's got to be from the collection. It's called Case, CASE. But yeah, if you go to collections, it's gone well so far, and everything I see, I'm like, oh, that's one less case that we have to move around into palletized shelving and count and do something else with. So it's a win-win. You know, I don't think it'll be a seal box quarterly sale by any means, but get it while you can. There's
a lot of
Wilderness
good
Trail
deals.
rye that we did was fantastic. The Nulus were really good. Nashville Barrel Rye was really good. Yeah, even the high wires were fantastic stuff. But you know, comes a time where it's like, hey, we gotta move on to the next pick and blend and everything else. So get while the getting's good, as
Can
they
people
say.
get 6 of the same?
Yep. Can be 6 of the same. Can be. I know my wife. I sent a text out about it on Saturday. My wife comes down. She's like, "Your text didn't make any sense." I'm like, "Well, I mean, you could have proofread it or something. Could have given me a little bit of a insight of why it doesn't make sense." But I think people figured out. But yeah, so that's going on right now until technically midnight tonight, but more realistically 9 a.m. tomorrow. So
Go
Yeah,
load up.
I have to
Yeah.
check that out.
Well, I do like Matt's comment here. It says, Finally, we
Please,
got
I
the-
am just,
You're on
balling
fire
on
tonight.
T-Mobile internet right now. I'm just or no, is it T? I don't know. We switched to something and yeah.
if you're on
Screw
T-Mobile,
Comcast.
we'll expect you start fading out here in a second.
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
You're on Cricket too. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we got Cricket Wireless and now what was the one phone?
You got the burner phone.
Yeah. All right, Brian's going to restart one more time. Told him to keep the microphone plugged in. If not, Brian, you're closer to Lake Forest. You can run out there real quick and help him, can't you?
You're closer to the interstate.
You are.
You're closer.
Thank you to
64.
everyone who has hung around.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate everybody for sticking around as we kind of figure this out. But if anybody has questions in the chat while we go through here, we can probably answer some things on there. Glad to see people are buying case sales and stuff like that. This is quality content. Thank you, Jeff. It's really not. This is stuff that you'll never hear on the podcast, but we appreciate you all sticking around for the
See,
bloopers,
I
if you
keep
will.
trying to convince Kenny that we don't have to be so scripted and edited and refined. Like we could just talk and people will listen. But maybe I'm wrong.
Have you listened to other podcasts where people just talk and it's not really
Yeah,
scripted
but
and it's
they're
everywhere?
boring. We're interesting.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
There's a good mix. Like you dedefinitely, if it gets
You gotta
too
have
unscripted,
balance,
It's
yeah.
like, all right, I don't want to hear about this guy, like what he had for lunch for the past 7 days in a row. But yeah, I agree. I think there's a good mix.
Scotch in the ozone. Huh, that's
Oh,
funny.
where was it? Yeah.
I know I'm gonna get in trouble on these week in bourbons. I feel like you always put these political ones in there just so I comment on it.
Just so you have something to say, and people be like, well, at least it
Shoot.
wasn't Kenny this time. It's Ryan shoehorning his politics into everything
Yeah.
about the podcast.
Oh man, gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Freestyle's king. Freestyle's not king except when you're scrambling, but that's okay. You know,
What's your favorite bourbon? What-
Evan's fucking with us. I know Evan. So
What's your mash bill?
what's your I was like,
Although Brian had a good, what's your thought on Blanton's?
yeah. Where was it? Where was it?
Can we do it around the? I feel like we had that early on where it popped up in everybody's daily drinker, like 5 years ago. That would be a good one to revisit. That was
Well,
fun.
I'm kind of holding some of that because I grabbed the last one tonight because I was looking for some other things, and just if we get to the third one, we get to the third one. But it's kind of a whatever. It's just a regular blah kind of topic. But once we get to like BCR 100, I think when that day comes, what I'm going to do is go back to like the first
Oh boy.
1 through 5 episodes, and we're going to revisit all those original questions that,
Oh,
that are
boy.
just like
Oh,
the
boy.
very
Nice.
so basic
Oh,
kind of
boy.
just
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, what's your favorite bourbon? All that kind of stuff.
Who's your favorite distillery?
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm already out of bourbon. I gotta go get another fill. Give me 1 second.
And why is it Buffalo Trace? I can pop my cork in front of the mic because we're not live.
Right.
Otherwise,
Kenny won't
get yelled at for that type of behavior.
hazy.
Yeah. Can't have my brother yelling at me while he's editing these things late at night.
What golf course were you at, Blake? Look nice.
Frederica. It's
Frederica.
it's a pretty cool one. Got to see Davis Love III strolling by on a golf cart that morning. Yeah, there a lot of the guys who are at Sea Island are also in St. Simon's are also at Frederica. And a buddy of mine joined recently, so I make him take me up there. So
Was it
There you
John?
go.
no, different. Brad, you met him.
Oh,
at
yeah.
one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to be a national member, you have to be 100 miles outside of or away from the course, and he was like 102. I'm like, thank goodness, because that has the crow flies. Because we could take back roads to make sure you hit that 100 miles. But no, it's a fun course.
Nice.
We might move on here shortly. We're gonna give him just a second. I guarantee you, if I know him, he is stressing out right now.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
give him a second. Tips on starting. just start throwing shit in a bottle
That's it.
and figure out what happens. I mean, just start slowly sipping it for years.
Don't take it serious.
No, it's impossible.
Somebody wants dog spot. Evan, kill
Oh,
your
yeah.
dog. No, I'm kidding.
Dark.
No, I mean, that's a tough one. The only thing you can do is you have to dilute the urine. So you either have to stand out there and hose it off each time or just deal with it, or train them to get on like a mulch pad area, or it's not, you're fighting an uphill battle.
I feel like he's backtracking really hard from the
Yep,
kill your
really
dog comment.
Well, it was a joke. I mean,
if you want to get divisive, that's I told somebody I wasn't really a dog person the other day. I'm
Or
like,
I don't like the
dogs. I'm not
dogs.
against
love
dogs. And
dogs.
they
If you
looked at
could-
me. I'm like, I had a dog. We had a dog I loved for 13 years. I just don't want to get another one right now. I'm like, seriously? Like, what is wrong with you? It's
If you could open up the episode preview with just Ryan saying that, that'd be great.
yeah.
Like kill your dog. Yeah.
Great. Now I got
Teach-
the
teach them to pee in
environmentalist
your
and
neighbor's
PETA
yard.
on me. Can't wait.
Yeah. Teaching the pee in your neighbor's yard,
Uh.
obviously. There's a good one from Matt is do y'all blame yourselves for the secondary market? It's a good
No,
question.
Fred Minnick.
Fred
my
Minnick.
list.
Don't give Fred that much credit. No, I'm just joking.
Don't give him that much credit. I
His
agree.
number twos are blow up the secondary.
They do. They typically do. All right. We're going to give him 40 seconds.
Okay.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I know.
I was like,
We're going to start
30, 29.
I'm sure
like
he'll
he got
hop
real
in.
quiet. And
I mean, we give Blake leeway to the very end of each episode, so Brian,
Yeah.
hop back in.
Yeah.
yeah, technically it doesn't count. It counts against his streak if he doesn't make it past the previews. I've set that.
Oh, is that how that's going to happen? Okay.
That's how the rule works.
Okay.
The good thing about having the longest streak is you get to make the rules on what counts and doesn't count.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
Alright.
Welcome everyone. I'm Kenny from
I'm still trying to delay because I know he's having a fit probably in the back end, but we'll start. If he ends up bringing it on, then we'll pause.
we'll pause and bring him in.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. All right, gentlemen, and everybody else that's watching. It only took us 20 minutes, and I guess we'll get started now. Sorry for the delay, but you can blame Sippin' Corn to fight back. Just don't buy his books. That's all I can tell you.
I mean, you're just saying you felt bad because he's stressed, and now you lead with.
Well,
Actually,
it's
just
at some
don't buy his
point
books.
you
know,
gotta
screw that
Oh,
guy.
man.
He's not here. So.
Oh, there's a price to pay.
got to teach him a lesson, right?
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
It's like, wait, if somebody would get back at Seal Blocks, I'll give him all the free shipping code, and you can eat every single shipping.
Here's all the codes that Blake doesn't even know still exist. So.
I'm just messing. No, but we are going to get started. So here we go. Welcome, everybody. We are back with Bourbon Community Roundtable number 71. Kenny and Ryan here tonight with a good potpourri of topics as we start jumping into this. A little bit of a skeleton crew as we jump into it as well, but that's okay. I think we've got some guys that know what they're talking about, so we'll have some good conversation.
We got to get you a better descriptor than potpourri. You said
You don't like
every
potpourri?
time. I mean,
All right,
well,
well,
I mean, it
would you
was
say-
good for like
about
3
a,
times, but now it's like every single time.
All right, trail
like
mix.
A plethora of
Cornucopia
topics.
of
Smattering, you know.
Okay,
A
all right.
smorgasbord.
All right.
you
Well,
know.
I appreciate, the buffet of options that you're presenting in front of me. So I'll make sure I put that in my Rolodex or my thesaurus and stuff like that. And I'll try to bring out next time for y'all.
Yeah, I'm just looking out for you so Lauren doesn't say something.
She really gets on me a lot because she
Yeah.
hates it because she has to listen to me not only all day, listen to the podcast, but she has to listen to me all night. And it's just constant. It's just always in her ear. So I'm really surprised that she hasn't, at some point
Just
just trying to
stabbed
kick me
you.
out of the house or stab me. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to go that far, but if we were going to do that, I guess might as well just go all the way.
That's right. That's right. But no, always excited for this show. It's, hanging out with our buddies. They're some of the best people in the biz and love just chatting with everyone here and people in the live stream. So let's do this.
Let's go ahead and do this. So Fred's not here tonight. Fred is doing his thing at Watch Hill Proper. You've probably seen him on all the socials and stuff like that, trying to get people to go out there and drink Dusties on Monday nights. So I think that's going to be slowing down here soon. We'll be able to join us on another Monday coming up. But let's go ahead and you already know these guys, but quick introduction. Blake, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, I'm Blake from Bourboner and Sealbox. As always, guys, it's fun. Good to be here. Streak continues as the longest running member of the Roundtable.
You're doing a fantastic job of it, by the way, too. Jordan.
Sure. This is Jordan, one of the three guys from Breaking Bourbon at breakingbourbon.com. Always happy to be here. Looking forward to a good show. Oh,
and Brian. Oh, God. You're on mute.
You're
He's
mute.
on mute.
Here, I'll unmute him. I can't unmute him.
I'm trying to unmute, guys.
There you go.
Oh, it sounds great.
Here. New
All right.
computer and all. Brian with Sipping Corn, Bourbon Justice. Find me there. Happy to finally make it.
Oh,
Incredible timing.
right underneath the wire, too. I love it. I love it. All right. So let's go ahead and let's kick this off. So the first topic that kind of came to mind, well, actually, it happened last week when Old Forester Birthday Bourbon sent out their email. Or should I say Old Forester, talked about birthday bourbon and said, hey, guess what? Nobody is allowed to come this year to the distillery. We're not having a release at the distillery. Instead, we're going to do a nationwide sweepstakes. And then even today, we got the news from Four Roses that Four Roses said, hey, we're going to do the same exact thing for limited edition small batch, where you're going to have a nationwide sweepstakes that you can enter online, and really no details to say, when can you pick it up? Are you going to ship? I doubt they're going to ship, but what are the kind of inner workings of it? It didn't really go into it, but it moved to a nationwide sweepstakes. And that kind of got me thinking, because for the longest time, we looked at bourbon and a lot of people were able to go and camp out. And that was a lot of camaraderie was built around camping out. You're able to kind of see a lot of the same people. As it's gotten a little bit later in the years, you've seen fights and other things break out, but maybe that's a reason why they're moving this way. But for the most part, a lot of people were able to garner friendships and kind of find people through this particular hobby and just through waiting in lines and camping out. And I'll even say that maybe Heaven Hill was one of the first people to kind of put the kibosh on this, because about a few months ago, or maybe less than that, they said, we're no longer doing our releases every single week. Instead, we're just going to kind of just randomly put it out, and we're not going to do anything on Tuesdays or Wednesdays where the drop is. So we can see that all the distilleries are kind of getting together and saying, we're not doing any of this waiting in line stuff anymore. So I guess the question kind of begs to you all is, do we see this as sort of the end of lines for limited releases, or do we still think that there's going to be opportunities for people out there to go and actually put in the effort versus just the 1 in a million chance you're going to get a bottle?
So I'll kick this off because I've been thinking a lot about this today. So Four Roses, here's what I love about this, especially from somebody who's not based in Kentucky and from folks who reach out all the time. The majority of our readers aren't in Kentucky. They're all over the country. So Four Roses, you're going to have a month to pick up your bottle from September 17th to October 16th. So more than enough time to plan a trip down. And I think it's great for two reasons, right? I know it stinks for people camping out and it does kill that camaraderie, but it builds a whole different community. And it keeps growing the current community that's out there for bourbon lovers. It gets people down to Kentucky. They, a lot of folks, this might be their first time down. They have an incentive to go. They got a really special bottle. There's going to be a really special trip. They're going to spend a day at the distillery. They're going to check out other distilleries. It's going to be a really good opportunity for them to experience what so many of us who love bourbon, who are in Kentucky all the time or who live in Kentucky, that they get to experience, on a daily or weekly basis. So I think it's actually, from somebody who's not there and who doesn't camp out and stand in lines, I think this is great. Right, this is a way to open it up to a lot of folks, and more importantly, get them really pumped up about the distillery and supporting that specific distillery and others, and just getting them excited about going to Kentucky. I think it's a great win for the state. I think more distilleries should do that, and it'll get more people down. Now, what's nice about this is if they can kind of clump around the same time, so people aren't trying to take like multiple trips a year. But if you're a diehard Four Roses fan or a diehard birthday bourbon fan, what a way to like get involved and actually tell your significant other or tell your friends, hey, let's plan that trip down to Kentucky. I've always wanted to do it. I got a huge excuse. Let's go. And, we have a month to plan it out and get down there versus, you need to be down there in like a day or something like that. I think it's a big win.
So let's go spend $3,000 on a trip for a $120 bottle.
Ignore the cost. Ignore the cost. Everything else. It's more about the experience, which is priceless. You know.
But you got to think the people that would be entering this lottery already have a Kentucky trip in their mind, and so if they win, it's like, hey, it's even okay. We really have to do this now. We have a month, so I do think we lose a little bit of that camaraderie. But I think it's kind of the industry growing up. You know, Matt said in the chat like it's the shoe game from 2008 where a lot of that has changed, and you know these distilleries, while we remember a lot of these events and overnights and everything fondly, for them, like they're picking up trash everywhere. There's grown adults fighting over who was in line or whose lawn chair was there first, and you know it just causes a lot of chaos and can leave a black eye for them. And aside from it being a safety thing of having a bunch of drunk people, you know, spending the night in your parking lot. So I think it's pretty good from that aspect. We do lose some of that small time feel, but it's just kind of bourbon growing up, getting bigger. You know, I'm sure there'll still be some stores that do it here and there, but in general, I think the overnight camp out for Pappy or other limited releases is dead. You know, I don't see that happening in the future. So I hate staying up late anyways, so I'm not against it, but you know, it's a progression of the industry.
I guess the line was just a necessity, right? Because they they kind of fell into it. There wasn't interest at first, and then there was just this crazy interest that kept building. And so, what do you do when you can't think about it? You just make a line, and then you end up with all that trash at Four Roses, and you end up with all those other problems. I don't particularly like this personally because I'm not lucky. I don't win anything. I don't win the friggin' door prize at, you know, when I buy a table of 8, I get nothing. So this is going to mean fewer for me personally, but I guess I got to say if you want to spread the love and spread the word of your brand, it's probably the way to do it. At least I get 2 votes on the Four Roses with Mellow Moments and then just the regular.
Yeah, I can't, you know, I agree with both of your all's points, and I think it's great for, you know, attracting people that don't live here and whatnot. I feel like they could do a balance of both. Like, okay, you can say we're going to allocate this much towards the online raffle, and then I'm a big fan of the not announcing, you know, releases and having them spur of the moment. And two, it's fun for, you know, people on the trail that are coming, and you know that they happen to pop into Old Forester and they're like, oh, we released birthday to bourbon today or this or that, you know. And so it's like, okay, we can do this, but at least let's hang on to like say 30 or 40%, you know, of this allocation that we would do on this raffle, and say we're going to release, you know, twice a month for the next 3 months or something. And we don't announce it till, you know, the first person that sees it in the, you know, the gift shop, and that's how it gets out there. I think that would be a good balance, you know, to appease locals and to, you know, reduce the camping aspect of it, and to attract people out of state to come here as well. I think that would be a good balance for everyone involved.
I think the only problem that you have, Ryan, with the sort of let the first person see it and sort of put the bat signal in the air, and then all of a sudden people start crowding around. We saw that happen with Willet. I remember it was a long time ago. Whenever a purple top would drop, it used to be anything that was over 12 years old is when people would start going, or actually it was actually anything in the 20-year-old range is when people would go. And we'd go, we look at the cabinet, and there'd be this 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old stuff. And be like, nah, we're good. We don't want any of that. We'll just want the 22-year stuff. And then all of a sudden it started getting lower and lower. And at any point when there was a purple top or any type of bourbon that was in the cabinet, people would just start rushing to Bardstown until that single barrel was sold out. And that happened consistently until the point where people were calling the ABC and saying, oh, Willet's starting to give inside information to people, and they have all the regulars that go and get it all. And that's when Drew said, at least this is kind of all third party. I don't really know if Drew said this, but they kind of said, listen, we're done with this. I'd rather not release anything than having to deal with this stuff, because people are just angry thinking that we're playing favoritism to other people. So I don't know if we can just sit there and wait and say, all right, just let the first person kind of put the information out there. I know you look at I'm sure it happens around the country, and the same thing happens here in Louisville too, is that you have local liquor stores that are in your Facebook groups, your local bourbon groups, and they will post something and say, "Hey, store opens at 9." They'll post this at 7 a.m. or something like that. Uh, you know, here's what's on the table today, and all of a sudden it goes and they're sold out by 9:05. So I mean, there's something to be said about making sure that you're right, like an early bird catches the worm, or you're just at your computer at the right time and saw it and was able to run out to the store and go get it. I think that's a fair way to do it as well. Plus being able to just kind of spread it out when you do it too. Now
Matt,
there was a go ahead, Ron.
I was gonna say, I saw in the comments, Matt Layton, shout out, had a excellent comment that says, "As for much as I hate secondary, I would rather pay secondary pricing than a trip to Kentucky, because it is going to be expensive for some folks, you know." And it's like, um, does that then? I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to weigh out like whether unintended consequences of this method.
You'll still be able to buy it on secondary. There'll still be people who fly in and flip their bottles, and that's that.
That'll justify their trip.
That'll justify their trip, so it's going to be more than not. But
Yeah, you're going to increase the price on secondary, I guess, right?
yep, which is probably their way of trying to get that to stop too. But
There's
I
no
think
perfect
some people,
solution.
there's no
Yeah.
perfect solution. Some people feel that way, but I saw a few comments too. It's good for the state of Kentucky, and it's good for bourbon overall. I think it'll just help build the bourbon community and people who love bourbon. Probably bad for people who are really diehard bourbon folks, because bourbon's going to become even more tight. But overall, for the industry, this is a good thing.
Yeah, there was another good comment here by Power of Bourbon, and he basically said that Kentucky residents will be mad. We've talked about this before, and I kind of said that I'm a little upset about it, only because back in the day, I was one of those people. I would go and I'd run around. I would get there at midnight and I'd wait till the next morning. I'd sit there and power up the GoPro and film the sunrise over the warehouses and stuff like that. And it was an opportunity to meet a lot of people there. And the fact is that that opportunity for the bottles that were just going to Kentucky residents is now completely wiped out, or Kentucky plus surrounding areas, whatever it is. By moving it to a nationwide lottery, I went from basically having somewhat of a little bit of a chance of getting a bottle to absolutely no chance, because when you take it from just a couple million people to a lot of million people that are going to be entering this, well, odds are you're not going to get it. Not only just is it not that, it's you had the people that were really diehards are the ones that are going to be camping out. Yeah, curse, they're bringing their wife, maybe they're bringing their friend, and paying like a few extra dollars to be able to get another bottle. But those are really diehards. What's going to happen here? It's you've got to deal with people that know how to manipulate the system, because I can tell you right now, I can spin up 4,000 email addresses today and go ahead and try to figure out a bot to be able to write all that into it, right? So you've got to be able to police that. The second part is now you've got, I don't know how many people that are not into bourbon, but they start forwarding this email out to every person in their family saying, "Hey, go ahead and sign up." This happens in every single control state lottery, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and everything like that, where people are probably getting bottles and they have no idea what they're signing up for, only because they want to help out their nephew or son or daughter or whomever that is trying to find these. So I always see the anti side of this, where yes, it's going to make things a lot easier on them because they don't have to deal with the general public, people waiting outside, fights, peeing on the sides of buildings or anything like that. But it's also, creating for a lot of bourbon diehards a very harder way to be able to get your hands on these, especially from them. So you're kind of removing that one avenue of being able to get it from the distillery, and now you've got to rely on all your relationships through liquor stores. That's about the only thing that's left, and even that's getting dicey nowadays.
I do think with Michter's, though, it's worked well that they've kind of sprinkled out like M10s and MRI, toasted or whatever, the harder to get Michter's. They just kind of sprinkle them out throughout. There's never like a cadence or a set thing. It's just that seems to work out for them. I don't know. It's like, why can't we just allocate some of that to folks? And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brian. It's hard to tell on these things. Who's going to talk?
No worries. I agree with that. And all I was doing was reminiscing, and that just sucks. It goes back to the Kentuckian point, but from like 2013 to 2018, you'd sign up for the Mellow Moments barbecue lunch, and you'd bring your and one, and you'd come back with 2 of the limited editions, and you had a nice meal and met everybody there. Let's bring back those days for the Kentuckians.
Well, time to pack up and move.
Or just Bourbon Fest week, you knew like everything was gonna, come out, and you would go to the Bourbon Festival events and just stay in Bardstown every day, knowing like, that
Oh, we do. You hop from Heaven Hill to Four Roses over to Willett, and you'd kind of hit everywhere you could in Bardstown, and you just pick up all kinds of limited releases.
You Kentucky guys are so spoiled. You didn't know the old days of having to drive to every sketchy liquor store in the Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia area to get anything. There's no visiting distilleries. It's going in and risking getting shot just so you may grab a bottle of Four Roses small batch limited edition. That's what I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that opportunity is still available.
Well, you never know. You never know.
So there's another good question by Matthew Layton, and he goes, so what happens with the bottles that actually go unclaimed at the end of this? And I know that we had kind of discussed the potential of this on a This Week in Bourbon. This is also the ability for, well, we go ahead and let's say, they got an allocation of, we'll say 700 bottles for Old Forester Birthday Bourbon. Just a guess of what the distillery would actually release. Well, let's say only 500 get picked up. Well, there you go. There's your 200 that probably get sprinkled out throughout the year. That's what I would probably say what happens to them. Any other kind of thoughts or suggestions, or maybe call up your local podcaster and have him come pick up one?
I think that'll also be telling for how brands in the future do these lotteries, right? So it's going to be an evolving process. So if 70% of the bottles go unclaimed, maybe they stop doing lotteries like this in the future, or they try and do direct to consumer. They work with like a retail partner that can ship nationwide, et cetera, which makes things even harder to do in terms of claiming a bottle. But if not, I think sprinkling throughout the year is a great idea. Not even like in the morning, like Heaven Hill does. Just, all right, 1 o'clock, let's throw out 3 bottles and see what happens, right? If you're there that day, we'll see what takes place. Better yet, what they could be doing is moving to a daily lottery system. All right, if you take a tour today, sign up. We'll draw somebody at the end of the day to win. Just pick up your bottle the next day.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And that's not a bad idea either. So that means you're already committed to going to Kentucky. You've already taken a tour. That means you're invested in that brand, and say you love the tour, and maybe you'll walk away with the bottle the next day.
I do like that idea. That's a solid
great idea.
Hey, Jordan, I know we have you on these for a reason.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks. There was a great comment here by Brian that somehow we overlooked it. And now that the distilleries are doing this, not only are they putting out and just saying, hey, go ahead and enter our lottery, but they are collecting emails left and right. So when you're able to do that, my gosh, you're able to basically get your information in front of people every single month and every single week if you want to be able to do that. I mean, that's something that it's for Blake, even with Sealbox, like you got to be able to at least purchase something first. These people are just entering a lottery, and now all of a sudden they'll be able to sit there and push information in front of them every single week, which unfortunately hurts us podcasters and YouTubers and everybody else that's trying to create content around it. But this is something that they are now building up their fan base and their contact list. That's quite a smart move. Any other thoughts about the old lines versus lotteries? Or actually, I'll pose another one here. So the other question we want to look at is not only just it coming from the distillery side, but let's also look at it from the liquor store side. Do we see this as something that our line's still going to be something that people need to still care about at the liquor store? Or are they going to start taking a cue off this and then start building their database and start figuring out how they can make things a little bit more, I guess you could say, I want to say fair, but essentially get out of the game of having to worry about people, I guess peeing in cups and kicking over chairs and lighting fires in their parking lot because that's where they're sleeping tonight.
Yeah, I think the stores probably can't do let's just put 3 bottles out in the afternoon, because it doesn't build any buzz that way. And some of them are going to get smaller allocations. So if you do that, you might have only gotten 3 of the Parker's Heritage or something, and then you're out. So they're going to have to figure something else out there. But also as a side comment to this, have you guys heard? It was in a control state. I think maybe Virginia. Some people
Virginia.
got arrested for telling their buddies ahead of time or selling information, whatever they were. I think they were actually selling inside information about when stores were getting certain allocated bottles. So you're just creating this perverse incentive, maybe not perverse, but you're creating this incentive to sell that kind of information. So you're going to have some clerk at the store is going to know when the Four Roses limited edition goes out, and that information is going to go out. I mean, there's all kinds of ways for this to go south.
Yeah, they're facing felony embezzlement charges on that, which is, seems crazy on the outset, but then you look at like they are accused of, embezzling the Pappy allocation or whatever it may be. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. But no, I mean, I think for stores, they would be smart to do something similar. It'll be interesting to see, if stores are seeing a reduced allocation because of these more national lottery systems that are going on. But I think everybody's just trying to figure out the best way to release stuff. We see it at Sealbox a lot, but you try to make it as fair as possible. At the end of the day, nobody's going to be happy. But I have to imagine for a store, they're facing the same challenges we talked about with people camping out overnight. So if they can figure out a way to release it, keep a few more people happy, or reduce the amount of extremely unhappy people, I think that's a great way to do it. The contact information, the email address, and all that that's important. And stores would be smart to take advantage of that for some of these limited releases.
Can you tell us again the address to your warehouse where people can go and wait outside?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's gonna be somewhere in Kentucky. And
Oh, is that where it's at? Okay. All right.
yeah, no, we may do that eventually. I don't know. I wouldn't be it would have been fun for Sealbox because we did have a brewery right down the street where I feel like we could have partnered with, but that's still in the back pocket. We may do that sometime.
Well, we'll be waiting on the edge of our seat to kind of hear what's going to happen there. Now, I think you all are right. I mean, it's a tricky subject to kind of get into and figure out, how are people getting their hands on these bottles and what can they do? I feel it's honestly is as we've starting to get into this, we've seen bourbon grow, but for people that are really getting into it now and you really want to get your hands on these, I feel it's exponentially harder than what it was when we all got started in this. For a lot of us here, I think when I first started, there was no waiting in line. There was jumping around to stores on drop day when you knew exactly where the trucks were going to be, but there wasn't a whole lot of stuff that you had to wait in line for up until like a year later, and that's when a lot of Pappy things kind of started happening.
Yeah, now you got to wait in line for like single barrel picks or
Yep.
just stuff that you
Weller
could get
107
that
yeah.
you could get all the time.
But you know what? I think that's the thing of always saying, quote unquote, like back in my day, 5 years from now, people will be saying, "Oh, 2022 is so easy to get bourbon." Right? 2027 is so hard. Like it's just always gonna be that way.
You keep thinking the tide's gonna change. It just doesn't. It
Yep.
keeps getting like harder and rarer.
Yep.
It's like the SNL cast. Everybody's like, this sucks. It was so much better a few years ago. And then you go a few years and like, it sucks. It was so much better a few years ago. Yeah, you're right. It's a endless cycle of it. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll kind of move on to our second topic. And this is starting to look at the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. This is one of the highest prestigious honors that anybody can be given inside of this particular industry. And there are 6 new people that are being inducted this year. First is the late Stephen Francis Thompson. He was the founder and president of Kentucky Artisan Distillery, amongst a lot of different things. Of course, Julianne Van Winkle III. Everybody knows who he is. Andrea Wilson from Michter's. She's been on the podcast plenty of times before. John Yarmouth, co-founder of the Congressional Bourbon Caucus. And Kaveh Zamanian, who's also been on the podcast before. All these people have great achievements and done a lot of things in bourbon and stuff like that. And I know that, of course, at least I'm assuming none of us are on the selection committee because nobody piped in and told me that they were before this.
I have been this whole time, Kenny.
Man alive. 2 pairs of gloves the entire time.
Yeah.
All right. So the way that I was kind of looking at it is thinking, what would we want to see in, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody that was inducted. When we start thinking about if we were to try to build the criteria and we start thinking of, who's been influential in bourbon that we know. And I'm sure some of these people that were even on here, people probably across the state, or sorry, across the nation, probably have no idea who John Yarmouth is, but we do as locals in Kentucky. So I guess the one thing I want to start thinking about is when you start looking at, if you were to start building a criteria list of what would be in your Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, where does it start? And not a person, I'm saying like just the criteria.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best question would probably be who was the first Roundtable member to get inducted, and why is it Ryan?
I like
and
that.
I think that's where we, where we start. No, I mean, for me, I feel like I'm very in this industry, but not as familiar with a few of the names on there as I probably should be. But I think they always take the approach of that hometown Kentucky, who's making moves and who's making a splash in Kentucky. Where being from the outside, it's not a lot of those names that got me into bourbon, got me excited about bourbon. It's more people who took Kentucky outside of the state of Kentucky, and you could make that case for a lot of those people because like Kenny said, you can't take anything away from what they've built. But I mean, even you look at like what Fred's done. I always tell people, for better or worse, like Fred spread bourbon to a lot of people. Either you hate him or you love him, but the ascot. And just things like that. I mean, even nobody's gonna nominate a bourbon Facebook group to the Kentucky Hall of Fame, but I guarantee you those bourbon Facebook groups got like probably 90% of this audience excited and interested in bourbon and chasing the history and the heritage and all that. But it's a bourbon Facebook group. I think Chuck Cowdery's in the Bourbon Hall of Fame, but his name obviously comes to mind. People like Skew's Recent Eats. There's a lot of people who I think were just kind of on the outer edges of bourbon and pushing the online portion of it forward, and that's what I think, at least for kind of the circles we run in, was the most important part. It may not be a master distiller that got us interested, but it was a group admin that you may just hate, but you're still there talking about bourbon every day because of them. So that's I wish there was maybe a separate category for that kind of thing, but I don't think we'll get there. But
the highest paid Facebook moderators is kind of what you get. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, before I also forgot one person on there was Representative Chad McCoy, which we all need to actually give a little bit of a bow over here. Ryan actually will be accepting on the behalf of Mr. McCoy.
Well, not just me, several people, but yes.
So he will be accepting on the behalf of him at the ceremony.
I will. Yep. Me and a few others.
That gets you some practice for accepting your own.
Hell no. Nobody's going to know the hell I am there.
That's called the warm up into
it's the warm up. It's the dress rehearsal for Ryan.
Yeah, don't trip on your slacks going up the stairs.
John and I are good. I've been doing John's yard for a long time, and I'm really good friends with his son. But he's been instrumental to I don't agree with his politics, but he's been instrumental in getting the tariffs reduced and, really focusing in on what's best for bourbon internationally. And he's done wonders for the industry. It's interesting. I wonder what they do have as like a criteria. It'd be nice to know, like, if they had like a bullet list of things, like, all right, this is like the minimal thing that you have to, and to me, it's I don't know if like it's like you have to be in the industry so long, like with like Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame or something. It seems like you have to be like an alumni for so many years before you're be available to be induct or nominated or whatnot. So yeah, I mean, Fred's definitely one I think eventually will get in there.
By far.
Yeah,
I have a feeling the only thing that's probably holding Fred back is he just might be a little too young right now. That might be the only thing.
and not on Fred itself, but when you think of the word Hall of Fame, often so many professional Hall of Fames have a time requirement, right? You're either a retired athlete for so long, or you've been a broadcaster in the sport and you were this influential. But bourbon's a little bit different, especially with some of the more recent nominees, right? You may not need to have a 20, 30-year career in bourbon. It's more, what's the impact you've had, right? So say you've only been in bourbon for 5 years, 10 years, even less, 2 years, 3 years, but did you grow that category? Did you help spread the word of bourbon and the knowledge of bourbon amongst consumers, amongst just individuals, both locally and internationally? What was your impact, right? And I think that's when you look at a lot of the people who have gotten in the last years, it's a lot of them have been in the industry. They have not been in the industry for 20, 30 years, right? They've maybe only been in it for 10 or even less, but they've had a huge impact. And they've really helped grown just the overall category and just the overall awareness of bourbon. And they've done very well for the bourbon category, right? And they continue to do well. I think that's what's a little bit different when people think of Hall of Fames versus the Bourbon Hall of Fame. It's yes, Hall of Fame in name, but very different than other professional Hall of Fames that you may think of.
Yeah, Hall of Fame, it seems like another is like you're retired, your career's over, you're this and that. Whereas these folks are pretty active still in the in the industry that are inducted. That's an interesting dynamic to especially this induction class. Chad McCoy's been instrumental in state laws and still really hustling to get even more state tax laws changed. And but he's very active. It's not like whereas John, he's going to be retiring. I think this is his last term. But yeah, it's interesting because I look at people that got inducted. Say 5-6 years ago, they weren't even like people that necessarily were helped the awareness of bourbon or this or that. They were just very good at their craft. They were very good. I think of David Hobbs, one of our good friends, Kenny, who was just like an excellent like operations manager for Heaven Hill, and really just was a great person, was great for Heaven Hill, and it's yeah, there's just so many interesting characters in this whole industry that deserve the award. I don't know necessarily should limit it to a criteria, as long as they're just good people, doing good things for the industry.
I think they're probably diluting it, though. I mean, you've got with the Bardstown people having their administrative assistant, entered into the Hall of Fame. I mean, maybe those women are great. And I'd say women just because it's two women who are administrative assistants who got in like in 2009 and some other year. But that's not Hall of Fame material. And it's kind of like there was a mess or one of the comments from Matt Cusick, Q on the North Side, said something about, or are you just involved long enough that you get in there, or is it because you've got certain popularity or something? But to me, that's not Hall of Fame. To me, you need the longevity to do it. And I thought way too much about this today, and I was comparing it to the Basketball Hall of Fame because that's what I'm looking at for people who shouldn't have been in it. So I landed on Ralph Sampson. Should not be in the Hall of Fame. He had a great college career, obviously, but he was a flop in 9 years in the NBA because of an injury. That's fine. But he didn't make that sort of lasting impact. He's got no titles. He was on a popular team. He's a popular guy, popular personality, and he gets in. And I think you're getting some of those people into the Bourbon Hall of Fame, and it's frankly diluting it. I mean, and why add some of the people the historical figures who've died? George T. Stagg has no business being in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. He came here from St. Louis, ran the Old Taylor distillery for a couple of years till he died, and it kept the name so people know the Stagg name. But the guy's worthless as far as a Kentucky Hall of Famer goes.
So let me ask you, and it'll probably piss off everyone who's listening that's from Kentucky and in Kentucky. I'm sure it'll piss off the folks in this podcast in Kentucky.
Can't wait.
But so, with bourbon exploding, and it is the national spirit, the native spirit of America. Should we expand it? So, should there be a National Bourbon Hall of Fame? Because there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things in bourbon outside of Kentucky.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I agree with that. I think it's not just Kentucky spirit. I think it's American native spirit. And I think that's obviously changing in the future of, bourbon. And I definitely think, there's folks that should be in the Hall of Fame. I think of people who have, just opened up the boundaries of, what is Kentucky, even a lot of people from, the squibs, I call them squibs now, not MGP, but, they've brought a lot of interest, into bourbon.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why don't we have more of that? Is Greg Metz in the Hall of Fame? Him and Larry Ebersold come to mind of people who would be outside of Kentucky, but I would think have just as much influence on the bourbon world today as anyone.
I actually just pulled up the list. You can Google it, and they have everybody from 2019 back to 2001, and I didn't see them on the list.
So the trouble is, well, not the trouble, but the issue with that is going to be this is this is a trademark that's owned by the Kentucky Distillers Association. So obviously they have inducted people from distilleries who are not members, and people outside of distilleries who obviously aren't members. But I think it's going to be a tough sell. I don't know this. I don't have any reason to say it, but it's going to be a tough sell to bring in somebody from Finger Lakes who might be very worthy of it for a Kentucky award. But I definitely don't disagree. It's a good idea to look at it from a broader perspective, and that's going to keep it from being watered down, which I think is happening.
So what you're saying is, Brian, BCR needs to create the
Our
National
own Hall of
Association
Fame. I mean,
for the American Whiskey
It's
Hall of Fame.
$1,000 an entry.
That's it.
Yeah, I've always said if I
That's
don't
it.
get an award, I can just make it up myself. And
Here we go.
So back on that, Brian. So the KDA does run the Bourbon Hall of Fame.
Yep, they own the trademark for Kentucky Bourbon.
How many Buffalo Trace people do we have? That would be interesting. I know there's been a little
Freddie.
bit of a
Freddie Johnson.
Yep.
I think
Freddie's on it, and Julian is now, and Pappy was ages ago. So you've got those. Harlan's not, but those are the three that come to mind that are.
Yep.
Okay.
Very true. I also saw in here that President William Howard Taft is on the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. That seems
You just
a
said
little odd.
George
he
T.
was
Stagg
a
was-
shoo-in.
You forgot George
He's a
Stagg there,
shoo-in.
Brian. Did you hear me? You forgot that George T. Stagg was on there.
No, I was saying he shouldn't have been on there.
No, I know, but he was another Buffalo Trace. Representative.
Fair,
No,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Fair enough.
Maybe a little bit
enough.
before the Buffalo Trace
I
time,
know.
but yeah, we'll let it go.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Brian
but
did his acceptance speech because George T couldn't make it that day. So
He grew his beard out for it. I mean, the other thing to kind of think about as well is looking at the amount of people that are being inducted every single year. I just scrolled through here, and there's some years where there's only 1 to 2 or maybe even 3 people that are being inducted, and then some years there's 6, 7, 8. So it's kind of varying all over the place. You're right. It's really hard to kind of look at this and say, is there a time limit of when you have to do this? Is there an impact of what they're making? And a lot of people that are in this list, they're most of the people that are kind of industry focused. They're not necessarily consumer focused. And I think that's probably one thing that we're all missing is that, when we start looking at who makes the impact, who's getting the most Instagram likes, who's pulling the YouTube views. I don't think they're looking at that and, thinking that some of these people on here are the ones that are maybe the ones that are building that. Instead, as Brian hinted at earlier, they're the ones that are, honing the craft. They're the ones that maybe have, extended an olive branch to another distillery or helped somebody out or did something that is just really good for what they're doing. So it's really hard to kind of look at that. I mean, let's take a great example of who we had on the show at one point was Kathleen Di Benedetto. I had no idea who she was until I heard her story and understood exactly what she did for Jim Beam and helped build the Booker's brand and Knob Creek and all that sort of stuff. And so I also feel that there's some stories that have kind of yet to be discovered. And maybe that's what we need to do as people with inside of the bourbon media space is try to figure out exactly who are those people that still need to be discovered and can tell that story. And we can get that and, amplify
What about
it.
like Peggy No and Bernie Lubbers and all those folks? They're not in yet, right?
Peggy No
is
Stevens is.
Peggy No,
Yeah.
okay.
She was back in 2019.
I think Aaron from Smoke Wagon should do it. Come in on a Corvette, and having a cigar and doing a review of batch 153 CS this.
Which, I mean, you make that joke, but you think
But no,
about like
seriously,
how
how big
many
of a,
people
no
are
doubt.
like, how big of an impact is that having on like just the Instagram world of
Exactly, I
people who
agree.
are into bourbon? Like, I think that's just as impactful.
I think he brought the
And
West Coast, he
yeah.
definitely appealed to the West Coast consumer and got them into bourbon for sure.
Mhm.
There's no doubt.
And then Rare Birds action is Dave Pickerel in the Hall of Fame, and I was looking and I just did a look, and he's not in the
has
Hall
to
of
be,
Fame.
right?
He's
He's
not in the
not?
Hall of Fame. Not in the Hall
Yeah,
of Fame.
I don't think he
is what
is.
this is.
It's surprising.
Really? That is
So-
surprising.
Yeah, he's not. I did a word search really quickly, so he is not in there. So it kind of goes to show you it's hard to figure out exactly who is in the Hall of Fame and kind of how that criteria is determined. But I don't think we really established what our criteria is. We kind of mostly just looked at it and figured out like what do they think?
It's
and,
easier
like, how
to
do they get
critique
to this point?
other people's work than come up with your own work. So
Oh,
I'm
exactly.
okay.
First grade.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up for this one. We had a good amount. Or do you all want to hit the last topic?
I mean, we just started pretty late. Hit the last topic if you want.
All right, fuck it. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a quick one.
All right. So for the last topic, we're gonna revive something that is, gosh, I think it was from like BCR number 3 when we went through this. And before we started, I was thinking once we get to BCR 100, we're gonna run out of stuff. We're just gonna go and revisit all the old questions and kind of rehash some of these things and see if any ideas or things that we thought had changed. I didn't go back and look and listen and figure out what did we say with this, but there was the question that popped up that said, what is the cheapest bottle that you should own with inside of your collection, your bar, or anything like that?
What did I say?
No, I'm asking you. We'll see. We'll have to go back and I think our listeners will keep us honest and they'll go back and listen to that one and they'll compare it to what we're saying now. So if you had to go, no, look, Ryan, no cheating. Don't look at your shelf. All right. So you gotta think like, what is the cheapest bottle that you should own that you can kind of always go to?
Well,
Oh gosh, there's Rare Bird. I was saying pretty easy. Wild Turkey.
Yeah, I mean,
call tonight.
I figured he'd be jumping in here soon, old DJ with the Wild Turkey call, but he's not wrong. I mean, Wild Turkey 101 is definitely up there. I'd put Maker's Mark up there as well. And anything bottled in bond that you can get from Evan Williams, or excuse me, from Heaven Hill. Well, I'd also include in that, whether that's JW Dan, Evan Williams. I put those 3 in there. I think they're, extremely accessible in today's world. The other one I was trying to think of
You get
earlier.
one, Blake. You get one. You're not the whole damn show.
No. I've got the next 15 minutes, I was told. Okay, if I have to choose one, go
Blake
Maker's
has the
Mark.
floor, everyone.
Maker's Mark, get the red wax. Everybody loves it. It's affordable and available.
yeah, I was drinking this weekend Evan Williams 1783 and it
That's
had
what I
a
was gonna say, Ryan.
1790 had a 17.99 price tag and I was like, this is hard to beat.
That was my pick right there. It's a great bourbon. There's nothing to be sorry about. It sips okay, right? There's nothing special, but it's not bad. Mix is fantastic. Good presentation. You can usually find it for well under $20. You can't go wrong with stocking that. I always have a bottle in my bar.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with those. And since we were reminiscing earlier, I got to say it as a Kentuckian, the 11.99 6-year Heaven Hill bottled in bond.
Rest in peace.
Still hanging on to a few. It used to be the Hera House Bourbon, so I'm going through them. I'm not saving them, but that used to be absolutely hands down the lowest price bourbon that you had to have. Now I'm probably leaning more for bottled and bond. I'm probably leaning more towards Old Granddad instead of the Evan Williams. But that 1793, I'm with you on that, absolutely. But if I'm going to say one for currently right now that I'd go get, it's be that orange top Old Granddad.
Well, I would imagine if we listened to that other episode, that Heaven Hill bottle of Bond is probably on there. If I had to guess, that's going to be on there.
That or early times bottled and bond. I don't know how it is.
I don't think early times
recently.
bottle of Bond was not around when we did that.
Maybe not, but I don't know. And I haven't bought some in quite some time since they sold. But when it first came out, I was blown away by that stuff. That stuff was good.
And I'll be honest, for me, my one bottle you should have that's kind of be cheap enough is just going to be your standard Four Roses yellow label. I think that's just another solid one. It just goes back into the old mantra is, have you ever had a bad Four Roses? And odds are it's probably no. So that's where I'm going to kind of hang my hat on there.
And that's why I'm the master blender. Not
that blends 11 different mash bills, my friend. Okay, golly.
Yeah, for some reason I just don't like the yellow label. I don't know. Can't get on it.
Well,
But that's okay.
I had never had it till Jim Rutledge was drinking it at his retirement party, and he explained to me that's what he always drank when it's something that was out in the public. He said it's the perfect proof for that, and he's not wrong.
Oh. Ryan, if it makes you feel any better, Mark Andrew 72 and DJ from Rare Bird both say that not a yellow label fan, and they say it tastes like one bad blend. So.
Well, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, well, at least you're the blender. I'm just the guy that runs the spreadsheet. So I'm glad it all works out. But this was another fantastic Bourbon Community Roundtable to kind of get back into this and kind of talk about some good topics. I honestly like the one at the very top of the show because it affects a lot of people that are in the bourbon world. And it's not going to stop people from lining up in lines, whether you're in a control state, whether there's a liquor store that's going to be releasing something, you're still going to go camp out. By all means, keep doing it. And if you are at the point where you say it's not worth the time, I'll just go ahead and pay whatever is on the secondary market and have it shipped to me. That's okay too. It's unfortunate for a lot of us who used to go and really try to go with the hunt. Now the online national sweepstakes has kind of dwindled that into nothing, but hopefully there's a lot of other good bourbons on the market that you don't have to sit there and say, I missed out this one bottle or every single limited release. And hopefully you just get to try your luck every single year and go back to what we have been talking about for years now, that single barrel picks are the new unicorn. So go ahead and join all of our single barrel clubs or go pick some off of Blake's Seal Box page right now on case, or what was it? Promo code CASE right now. You can go ahead and get 6 bottles.
Collection case. You don't even need a promo code. It's just automatic.
There you go. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead. We'll wrap it up. So, Jordan, you go first. Just quick little outro.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jordan, one of the 3 guys from Breaking Bourbon at breakingbourbon.com. Always good to talk to you guys.
And Brian.
All right. I'm glad I had a backup computer. That way I didn't miss it. But thanks for having me again, Brian, with Sippin' Corn. Find me there on the socials and at bourbonjustice.com.
Do I need to say it? All right, Blake, you too.
Thank you for that intro, Kenny. Once again, I'm Blake from Sealbox and Bourboner. Always fun to be here. And yeah, enjoyed it. Good questions tonight. So thanks again.
Perfect. And make sure you follow them on all the social handles. Follow Bourbon Pursuit wherever you get your podcasts. And if you do like the show, make sure you go ahead and leave us a rating, leave us a review, tell somebody about it, share it with a friend, whatever it is. Get them more into bourbon, get them to listen to podcasts, whatever it takes. Help grow I'd say help grow it, but then you're going to ruin your chances of getting allocated bourbon too. But that's just, that's the part of making this all work. So,
and real quick, shout out to Fred and the everyone involved with the recent Kentucky fundraiser. Or I know Brian had a hand in it too. So awesome of the bourbon community to get it, doing the charity thing for our state is again in a time of need and tragedy. So thank you all for all the support and everyone behind that. So just wanted to say that real quick.
And if I can piggyback on that, thanks Ryan for that. We last night at 11 when it closed, we were at $1.3 something million for Eastern Kentucky flood relief. There's still some cash donations coming in, so there's still some money to count. So that number should go up. But thank you for everyone in the bourbon community. I mean, that's something that I've always seen personally, that we come together, and it happened here again. So thank you, everyone.
Yep. Kudos. Yep. Way to go, everyone. Really cool. All right. With that, cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Toodles.
All right. That'll do it. Y'all, I'm gonna let you start the fight with Matthew here. He wants y'all to
start rotating. as
he
different
wants y'all
guests
to
for
get
each
off of
these.
here and have new guests.
Oh wow.
Oh,
You bud.
boo.
No.
Actually,
Blocked.
No.
nah.
No, I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Should we start with
But I'm
removing
gonna
the
be
longest tenure,
host,
Blake?
and I'm gonna be the host, and I will.
Yeah. We'll get Kenny
rotate
and
to
Ryan off of
everyone
here.
else.
Kick me off.
Nah, we have a good rapport.
We
and
did used to do that a little bit. You know, we
Like a rotating
get a
guest come
fill
in.
in here and there, and
We rotate the
guess
Breaking
we
Bourbon
stopped
guys.
Yeah, Nick and me
we-
swap
yeah.
off.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we have enough technical problems with all of us, and I like to
Yeah.
have good quality. It's like it'll be fighting a new battle every 4 weeks, and I don't know if I want to do that. So
Well, and I'm not usually the guy with the trouble, so
I know.
shots fired. Okay.
Hey, I didn't say your name. I didn't say anybody's name, Blake.
Although I feel like I want a real goal with my my comment in the chat. I saw Kenny start laughing.
Oh,
and
I
have to cover
lost it.
something.
I lost it. I don't think we can say that out loud.
No,
but,
no. We'll leave that one there.
But if you look at
It's,
our private chat, I had to get off. I
I didn't see that.
Just stop.
Oh, I saw that.
But I feel like this was some good
This-
questions
that
tonight.
was
I
a
feel
good
like
show.
we hit a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
you did-
topics. We basically, made sure that none of us have any
not a shot.
like chance at the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I don't deserve to be in
only
it.
the Kentucky guys really do. I think is what we came to the conclusion of.
I
Like
think that's right.
you need to be Kentucky based and bred, and screw everybody else in for making it a national thing.
Well, it's
We
just
don't
part
like
of
your
the
kind
process.
around here.
Yeah.
Kentucky bourbon.
Go back to Jacksonville.
Yeah. Oh, but
All
yeah. All right. I'm
I
out.
gotta
This was
go
good,
to
boys.
Enjoyed it, guys. Thanks again.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for watching. It's fun.
Thanks all.
Yep. Cheers,
See y'all.
everybody. See y'all soon.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody on the chat.